Hey, I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com, and currently I am reading this book. It's honestly, and if you're like, I think I've seen that guy before, it's Michael Sweet, who is the lead singer of the band Stryper. For those of you that remember the 80s, they were huge back in the 80s. And I wanted to share some things that I'm only 47% through the book, but there's some things that is in this book that I'm like, this really applies to podcasting. So the first thing is, and I love this book. Number one, this is a key. Michael is very transparent and honest in this book, as in he talks about how he got his girlfriend pregnant and then married her. This again is a Christian band. And I was like, well, that's kind of different. So he peels back the curtain, and I really like that. But the other thing is he mentions how, especially back in the 80s, most Christian bands did not sound good. And it's kind of odd because you would think these people would have God-given talent. Not so much. Or if they did, they were recording in somebody's basement. They just sounded horrible. And Michael realized that he's growing up in California, and he goes, my competition wasn't these other Christian bands. It was Rat, Motley Crue, Poison, these kind of bands. And he wanted to sound just as good as they did. And that was the thing when I first heard Stryper. I was like, oh man, these guys sound awesome. Where they didn't sound like, okay, okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to listen to that. The other thing is he writes songs that can connect with his audience. And I was listening to that, and he writes music, by the way, all the time. That's what he does. He's a musician. He writes songs, lyrics all the time. And the name of the book is Honestly. That's one of their big hits. And it was a power ballad, which back in the 80s, come on, who didn't love a good old power ballad? But if you listen to the lyrics of that song, some people might say, oh, that's a song from God to people. Other people might say, oh, no way, man, that's a song that I would sing to my spouse. And other people are like, no way, man, that's a song I would sing to my brother or my sister or my parents. It's about how I love you honestly. I've always got your back, that kind of thing. And so he wrote songs that could connect with people. The other thing that I'm reading about that I didn't realize is back when they were first coming out and trying to get their foot in the door, they were hated, as in like death threats, hated. And you're like, well, wait a minute, because you realize people like Slayer and Anthrax and all these other real hard bags, they're like, oh, Stryper, a bunch of bumblebees. Nah. But the other thing was, you would think like the Christian people were like, all right, cool, we've got now, like Jimmy Swaggart. He talks about how Jimmy Swaggart just thought, you're the devil, rock and roll is the devil, kind of thing. And I was like, really? And he said they would walk into places, they'd go backstage and somebody written on the mirror, like die, blah, blah, blah. It was really weird. So realize that when you do something different, people are not going to like it always. And that's okay. It's okay. Do your thing. Then the other thing that I thought was interesting, because in their case, they have a passion. They have a passion for God, and they have a passion for hard rock, and they melded the two, and not everybody's going to get that. But they push through, even with death threats. I'm like, I'd be like, no, it's all right. I'll just stay here. You keep your bullets. And but what was interesting is MTV, which back in the 80s again was huge, and this is before reality TV. They used to actually show kids back in the day. They used to show music on MTV. That's what the M stood for. Now it just stands for bleh. But anyway, but MTV would not play any, as in zero, Christian artists on their thing. Now, the cool thing is, all this time, they were connecting with their audience, they were touring, and they were building a fan base through a great sounding product that connected with their audience. So along comes a thing called Dial MTV, where you can request your favorite video. And lo and behold, that audience came to play, and sure enough, they got their video on MTV. Now, the interesting thing is they had two videos. And Stryper was the first band because they had a great product and they had connected with their audience and they had built this connection with their audience that they had two videos in the top 10. Now, what was interesting is you would think MTV would at this point be like, you got any other videos? People seem to like this stuff. Nope, they came out with their power ballad, Honestly. And again, MTV's like, oh, we can't air that video. Why? It had an American flag in it. An American flag, yeah, it was too patriotic. So in this case, they actually edited out some of the American flag, but not all of it. And later they re-released the video with the patriotic version of it. And all it was an American flag for some reason in their front yard, not on a big flagpole, but it was like just there while they're saying goodbye to their wives and such. Very odd when you think about that. But nonetheless, they were up against some, a pushback constantly, and that they didn't let that deter them. So I say that as I look at this. I've been nominated somewhere between 5 and 7 podcast awards. I didn't really keep track. And the last time I lost to Reply All. And I could easily say, right? Well, they're on Gimlet. They have a team of 15 people. I have a team of 1. And I can sleep at night knowing that. That's fine. But on the other hand, I need to look back and go, if I'm going to be the best, you're going to have to beat the competition that's out there. And so did I tweet my audience every day? No. Did I send an email every day? No. Did I do everything I could to promote this? No, not really. And I always say you're either going to find a way or you're going to find an excuse. And the other thing I want to warn you about, being the best, is that might be, I know I want you to shoot for your dreams, but sometimes, because otherwise you're going to be disappointed all the time if you're not the best. And I can sleep at night. I'm happy with that. But just realize that I say this now because I'm hearing people talk about, well, there's podcasters, and I hate this phrase, there's procasters. And to me, we're all content creators. And if you really want to party with the big boys, you've got to do kind of what Michael is doing. Have a great sounding podcast that connects with your audience, then go out and immerse yourself in your audience, build that relationship with people so that when you have your chance to go on MTV, they'll vote for your stuff. Or in this case, and I don't even want to bring up the iTunes charts because that just makes me vomit in my mouth a little bit. But the point is, make the best sounding podcast you can. Now, with that in mind, please don't go spend $2,000 on equipment. You don't need that. This microphone right now is $60, and it sounds just as good as this one that costs $300. So don't go crazy with that. But I think it's more on focusing on your audience and creating a good product that delivers value. So that's where I'm at today. Again, the book is honestly, even if you're not a Christian kind of person, some really interesting insights. Honestly, my book, my Life in Stryper Revealed, and I'm listening to it. It's actually kind of cool. I'm listening to it on my Amazon Dot, who is reading it to me, which if you didn't know that, that's kind of cool. It's a little hockey puck thing, but I can actually just tell the device, read this book on Kindle, and it reads it to me on that after they play an Audible ad. So that's kind of a fun way to do that. And I listened to, I'm not sure what chapter I was on, and I was like, wow, this really applies to podcasting in a way. So I wanted to come and share it with you. Now, if you want to start a podcast, come over and visit me at schoolofpodcasting.com/start. Use the coupon code YouTube, and you can save either on a single course or on an actual membership and get access to all the courses over at schoolofpodcasting.com. So thanks for watching, and have a great week.